talk about this game for one quick second. It shouldn't have come down to this.
Game should have been over.
Good shot. I mean, like they once again inefficient in the red zone, had to settle for field goals, and then they couldn't stop the Bears on a couple of drives when they needed to. They gave up the big run to Swift for the touchdown, and then they should have scored, with 6 minutes left, but they do the stupid refrigerator Perry, and the guy fumbles it, and we get second life, but then we can't move the ball, and we have to punt back. And then they come down, and then the bad pass interference on Keenan Allen was a good call, and so and they punch it. Like there was a bunch of different things that
Quinn should have gone for it on 4th and inches. You can ice the game there. If you got that far to win the game, you got Jayden Daniels. I think you sneak that, game's over.
I don't know. You're on your own 10 or whatever it was. But to your point though, I mean the counter argument to me is that even if you don't get it, then it's you're still going to have to punt, and whether they have to go 10 yards, they have to go 40 yards.
Right. That's the thing. It's also in that situation, if you don't get it and they are going to score, then you have more time.
You have more time back,
so,
right? Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't like that call, but worked out in the end. I'll never forget just Dan Quinn looking for someone to hug after. That was an incredible moment.
We were in football. I'll just describe my situation. I was in Football Night in America. We're on live. And so, we're doing the show. The game's still going on. It was a 4:30 game or whatever. It's taken a long time. And so we're live on air. And so how it works at Football Night in America is that you see the games on these big screens that are off camera. And so, but at some point when Maria or Devin or Jason or somebody like that Sims has to do something on the screen, they take it off. And so sometimes I'm watching the games on these big screens, but sometimes I'm watching the late games in the research area. And so I'm behind. Shout out to J.K. and Rosie, two of our researchers and producers on the show. And so I'm behind them watching on these little monitors. And then we're in a commercial break during the Hail Mary, and so they turn on these big screens. And so for some reason, I don't realize this. I mean, the play's 13 seconds long. So we're all just watching it together in the studio. But their side is, for some reason, I guess because the feed is slightly different, is 2 seconds ahead. And so we're all just watching.
Pivotal
and he's
2
running
seconds.
around. No, I know. We're
Yes.
watching. And as I'm seeing Daniels lean back to throw, all of a sudden I hear whoa, wow. And I'm like, what? What the hell just happened? And then boom, so it was just and then, listen, I'm a middle-aged man, and I went hell yeah! Oh my God! I start screaming. I'm at work. Surrounded by colleagues, and I am screaming like a idiot. You know what I mean?
It was magical. It was a magical moment. It was a moment of the season. Moment of the past few seasons, to be honest. I can't remember anything like that. It was incredible.
And Jayden Daniels has been one of the stories of this NFL season. And after the game,
Faith in 5, baby. Faith in 5.
We got to hear from Jayden Daniels on just how special that walk-off moment was for him and the Commanders.
I was juiced up for sure. I'm excited because, that's kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Not too many people get to experience stuff like that. That was my first time. So, obviously, I was juiced up, the whole stadium, team, sideline, everybody.
How much fun was that for you? Just coming off the field, the locker room vibe, all the guys in there.
Yeah, it was great for, the whole city. DMV, not just us, the fan base. Without them, they had the place rocking.
Jayden Daniels pretty calm, honestly, at the presser, considering how crazy that moment was.
12.79 seconds, as you see the tweet here from Next Gen Stats. Jayden Daniels held onto the ball for 12.79 seconds on his game-winning 52-yard Hail Mary touchdown to Noah Brown. The first touchdown pass with a time to throw over 10 seconds in the Next Gen Stats era since 2016. Hashtag raise hell, hashtag Chicago versus Was. What's great is not one holding call either. It's the man said he was able to get 12.79 seconds without any holds was awesome.
I wasn't gonna say it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say on that, and I know Chicago fans are bitching there were two obvious holds. I get
Hail
that.
Mary, the rules go out the window.
That's what I was gonna say because by the way, if you want to call a hold on a Hail Mary, and I get it because it's the rules, then you're gonna have to start calling pass interference on Hail Mary because that's the other thing is they're all there and they're doing this and the wide receivers are being touched before the ball gets there. That is pass interference. And I'm just telling you, if you're a defensive team, you don't want the holds call because it's much more if they're actually going to call all the rules, pass interference happens a lot more. And now you've got an untimed play from the one. You know what I mean? When they start calling the, so
Which really ruins the moment.
So exactly. All I'm saying is I get it. There were holds, but there was also pass interference. I think if you watch that play again, they're everyone's getting shoved around.
It's a pile.
It's a pile. Luke McCaffrey's being tossed around like a rag doll down there.
Yep. Connor Rogers week to week with a shoulder injury after that shove, much like Jordan Mason. And Shohei Ohtani. I will say one thing that I'll not forget from yesterday is just how incredibly good Jayden Daniels and particularly Lamar Jackson were at buying time on those final throws, just evading the pressure. Like, just a preternatural sixth sense for where the pressure is coming from. Particularly Lamar, the way he was able to fake guys out was really impressive. In terms of the game itself and fantasy repercussions, Bears offense takes a big step back. Caleb Williams and everything was just broken for 3 quarters. They've kind of found their way in the final quarter. And
he made a couple of brilliant throws down the stretch.
At the end, for sure.
He came up big down the stretch, Caleb. And DeAndre Swift as well was a monster.
Yeah, credit to the Commanders' defense, by the way. I mean, again, like, I don't think we... No!
We're talking about the Bears' fantasy offense.
But and hang on, though. I'm saying that there's a fantasy implication. I mean, I'm saying that...
It's not a punching bag.
Yeah, exactly. I am saying that give the Commanders' defense some credit because I thought they played well against an offense that came in hot, and that maybe, as we reset for fantasy and just trying to spin this forward for fantasy, is that maybe the Commanders' defense isn't a pushover, isn't a, start whoever you've got against them as well. That's all I'm saying here. That's my point here is before we sit here and go like, Caleb stinks and blah, 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 we're out on the Bears.
Right.
Like, hey, maybe give some
pressure.
This was
full credit to Coach of the Year, Dan Quinn, who was ready to kill after he punted on 4th and inches. But it seemed to get that defense to a level of competence to go with what should be an all-world offense. Jayden Daniels will be better. It was clear I think he was a bit limited by the oblique, didn't have the same power as normal until that final throw.
But just, again, to your point about Coach of the Year, I will just say, like, the Commanders on offense, like, they don't have, like, it's still very narrow. It was a tough day at the office for Brian Robinson, but, Daniels makes a lot of fantasy points on that last Hail Mary. Otherwise, they were inefficient in the red zone. But, like, third straight 100-yard game for Terry McLaurin. He's had at least 15 fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 games. Like, he is a top 15 wide receiver going forward. But after that, there's not one guy on the offense where if you're a defensive coordinator, other than Brian Robinson and McLaurin, that you're like, oh, man, got to stop that guy. Like, we got to make sure we've got a plan for Zach Ertz. Like, Noah Brown was, like, bouncing around the league. I'm just saying, like, they've done a really good job with, like, pieces. Like, I don't think anyone's going, like, if only we had Olamide Zacchaeus, you know what I mean? Like, then we'd be complete. You know what I mean? Like, Zach Ertz was out of football. I mean, like, it's unbelievable what they're doing with the pieces they have.
Yeah, it's week 8, and they have 50% more wins than they had last year. They had 4 wins last year. They have a good chance of going 12-5, 11-6.
Coach of the Year. Your Coach of the Year wins, I think, are going to make up for all your Giants to win the NFC East.
Faith in 5. Faith in Quinn. Get me back, Quinn.
Yeah. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.